From our studios in Frankfurt, Germany, this is the AFN Evening News.
Good evening. A U.S. Army Ranger was killed this morning and 12 others wounded when Somali guerrillas lobbed mortar bombs into the UN airport at Mogadishu. One of the soldiers wounded in earlier fighting died this morning at the Landstuhl, Germany Army Hospital. Sergeant Cornell Houston of the 41st Engineer Battalion, headquartered at Fort Drum, New York, was among 32 soldiers medevaced to the hospital Tuesday. Houston is survived by his wife Carmen of Mobile, Alabama. 42 soldiers have been flown back to the United States for further treatment. And with the U.S. taking casualties in Somalia and discussions about an American role in Bosnia, a top State Department official visiting Bonn, Germany, outlined Clinton administration's long-term foreign policy goals. Gary Bottel reports.
Timothy Worth is in the newly created position of Counselor for Global Affairs, the number 3 man in the State Department. Worth was a Democratic senator from Colorado from 1986 to 1992. Then he was co-chairman of the Clinton-Gore presidential campaign. Worth told his German audience the Cold War has been replaced by a whole collection of global threats. And these are not just regional conflicts, but such problems as drugs, international terrorism, environmental decline, transnational health concerns such as AIDS, and the population explosion. According to the Clinton foreign policy agenda, these issues are just as important for national security as a strong defense. In an interview with AFN News, Worth said problems facing American forces in Somalia are the result of a lack of planning when those troops went into the country.
The President outlined in his United Nations speech last Monday the criteria for U.S. engagement in these peacekeeping or peacemaking activities. And those criteria are very tough. We do not want to find ourselves in a situation where we get sucked in and there's no criteria for how long we're going to be there, the rationale for being there, where the exit point occurs, and so on. And we're very aware of the fact that if we commit American troops, we want to know what we're doing, where we're going, what the end game is. And that's one of the problems in Somalia, obviously, is that definition when the troops were sent in last year. And we weren't pretty clear on the end game. We weren't perfectly clear on the purposes. And we get confused when that happens. And we want to work very carefully, obviously, with Secretary Aspen and the President and the Joint Chiefs on defining our goals, defining our purposes, and defining our exit points.
This is the first visit by a top official of the Clinton administration and the first explanation of Clinton's foreign policy here in Germany. Interestingly enough, it was not the government of conservative Chancellor Helmut Kohl who hosted this event, but the Friedrich Ebert Foundation, an organization run by the Social Democratic Party, the opposition party, and a party which has long traditional ties with the American Democratic Party. In Bonn, Gary Bottel, AFN News.
Ask any soldier during a training exercise and they'll tell you safety is top priority. Sometimes, however, accidents do happen. PFC Tracy Baumann tells us how the 236 Air Ambulance Medical Company from Landstuhl, Germany is prepared to deal with accidents during intrinsic action in Kuwait.
While Task Force 237 trains in the Kuwaiti desert, some soldiers are actually hoping to go mission-free throughout exercise intrinsic action. Soldiers from the 236 Air Ambulance Medical Company in Landstuhl are responsible for medical transportation when the troops are out in the field. Captain John Merkel explains the mission of the flight crew.
We do 24-hour aeromedical evacuation coverage. We have a crew on duty 24 hours a day for evacuation purposes of sick and injured. When there's a live range, we send an aircraft out to range to support the range.
The crew travels to the range at sunrise in a Black Hawk helicopter and remains there throughout the training day. If an accident occurs, Sergeant Philip Coe says that each member of the crew is important during the 20 to 30-minute flight to Al Sabah Hospital in Kuwait City.
I'm responsible for the patient, but I can't get to the patient without the pilots. And the aircraft's not working without the crew chief. We're not going to be able to fly. So it's a whole crew. It's a whole crew thing.
Even though every member is in part responsible for a successful mission, all of them hope they won't be needed much during the exercise. From high above Kuwait, PFC Tracy Baumann, AFN News.
And exercise intrinsic action is nearing its final days of training in Kuwait. Task Force 237 and its support elements are a long way from their home bases in Europe. Specialist Scott Speaks reports that missions outside of NATO are becoming a way of life.
During the Cold War, the role of the 3rd Infantry Division was to deploy to its general defense position and defend NATO soil from the oncoming Warsaw Pact. Today, unless an unforeseen division deployment was to occur, operations such as intrinsic action will be common to the Marne Division. Major General Leonard D. Holder is the commander of the 3rd ID.
We have worked in the past weeks in Hungary, in Russia, in France, and down here. So it's a fascinating time to be serving, and the battalions of the division have got to be ready to do a whole range of things, from peacekeeping all the way to conventional combat. I believe this is very much the direction we'll go.
Much has been said about the 10-year defense cooperation agreement between the U.S. and Kuwait. American soldiers have continued to play a valuable role here in the years since Desert Storm, but that has proven to be a two-way street.
We can learn a great deal from the Kuwaitis about desert living and how to do sustained operations in this kind of climate and environment. What I'd like my soldiers to learn from this deployment is desert living, some of the environmental differences, formations and battle drills, and the importance of the integration of combined arms. The business of staying in artillery range, keeping up with supporting engineers, or having them keep up with you, and maintaining coordination with the Air Force is highly important in this kind of environment.
With the field training portion of this intrinsic action rotation now over, soldiers will soon be returning from the field to turn in equipment and get ready for their journey home. Reporting from Camp Doha, Kuwait, Specialist Scott Speaks, AFN News.
For the past year, 2 Army medical units have been treating the wounded in Zagreb, Croatia. Now it's the Air Force's turn. Airman Brett Baker reports on the new unit in town.
The 48th Medical Group recently arrived at Camp Pleso near Zagreb and began the transition from Army to Air Force. While the two services may not speak the same language, the transition has been smooth.
Everything looks well oiled, and we don't anticipate at this point any major difficulties in doing it relatively smoothly and right on schedule.
The task of taking over from another service is not easy, but it's something that must be done.
In the future, if missions are going to be highly interoperative, both with sister services and other countries, it's extremely important that we learn how to do these and do them without friction and without undue problems.
Working with and treating the many different UN nationalities will be a lot different from the medic's daily routine.
But here, you can't rely on the normals. You have to be able to deal with people in a very sensitive way, a very professional way. And it's always a good test, and I enjoy that.
Well, it just shows that Air Force, USAFE, and the 48, there's no mission that we can't come up against and conquer.
Behind me is the hospital where, for the next 6 months, over 100 airmen from RAF Lakenheath will work. Here, they'll put their combat casualty treatment skills to use if the need arises. Senior Airman Brett Baker, Air Force News, Zagreb, Croatia.
And in the past few years, the Air Force has undergone a number of changes. Airman Mark Pleasance explains how these changes have affected Air Force specialty codes.
To keep up with the quickly changing Air Force, personnel officials have opted to overhaul the Air Force specialty code system. The changes, which will be implemented at the end of October, are part of a logical progression of changes throughout the Air Force.
The primary reason the Air Force went to this system is because the current system we have came about in 1952 when we broke away from the Army military occupational specialty system. Obviously, we haven't done any overhauls of this system in over 40 years, so basically what you're looking at is a vacuum tube classification system wedded to a digital Air Force.
The new codes have been designed to fall directly in line with current Air Force streamlining.
Because of all the changes as far as objective wing concept and so on and so forth, we've basically restructured the system to fit in with this objective wing concept.
As an example, under the new enlisted AFSC system, a 73270 personnel technician will become a 3S071. The first digit is the career grouping. The second is an alpha character representing the career field family, and the third is the career field subdivision. The fourth character is the skill level, which will remain unchanged from current skill levels. The final digit is the specific Air Force specialty. An example for officers, a 7324 personnel programs officer will become a 36P3. The first digit is the career group. The second is the career field family. The third will be an alpha character representing a function category, and the final digit signifies the qualification level. If you have a specific question regarding your new AFSC, contact the Military Personnel Flight. Reporting from San Vito Air Station, Italy, I'm Airman Mark Pleasance, AFN News.
Well, for those lucky enough to be in the Frankfort area today, you enjoyed a pretty good weather day. And here to tell us if we'll have 2 nice ones in a row is Sergeant Salinda Larabee.
Well, wonders never cease. Yes, there was only one country in the entire continent today that enjoyed anything resembling a beautiful autumn day. And of all places, it just happened to be Germany, because everywhere else virtually covered with mostly cloudy conditions and more reports of rain to go around for everybody. And in the Middle East today, only you there in extreme eastern Turkey saw anything resembling shower and thunderstorm activity building as the day went on. And for your forecast tomorrow, that will be the only place in the entire region that will be likely to see any more of the precipitation, because the rest of you in the entire area can expect to see another beautiful day. Well, let's travel back toward Europe, where only you there in extreme southern Italy and over Central Europe enjoyed anything resembling a beautiful day. Everyone else virtually covered with showers, thunderstorms, gusty winds, fog, and drizzle. And I hope for you there in Germany and the Benelux you didn't get too spoiled by the beautiful weather today, because the rain is moving back in from the southwest again tonight. And one word can sum up tomorrow's forecast: changeable. Switching on over, everywhere in Central Europe and virtually all of Europe can expect to see very changeable conditions, because as long as we're dominated by low pressure, all areas will be prone to seeing a passing shower or even a thunderstorm or two. But the very best chances of seeing the rain tomorrow will lie right along with the frontal boundary, meaning for all of you in Italy, Croatia, and back up into Scandinavia. But the good news looking ahead to the weekend, the areas of low pressure are beginning to weaken slightly. So the weekend might not be a total waste. But right now we need to take a look at your Friday forecast. Tomorrow, all of you in the 719th Red Horse Civil Engineering Flight at Aviano Air Base should find indoor activities to occupy yourselves. You'll see more of the gray clouds with rain showers and perhaps a lightning display to brighten up your day. And we will talk more about your weekend weather tomorrow night. Enjoy.
A scandal erupted yesterday in Germany when the federal health minister admitted that over 300 people may have been infected with the AIDS virus through contaminated blood. Health Minister Horst Seehofer said he didn't know about the suspected tainted infusions until Tuesday and fired 2 of his aides because of what appeared to be a cover-up. Seehofer said the Federal Health Office has kept quiet for 9 years about the reports that donated blood may have been tainted with the virus. The German Society for Hemophiliacs said much of the suspect blood may have come from the United States, although there is no evidence to support their claims. And that is your late edition for this Thursday. Have a good night.